What is good, all of our listeners and viewers? Welcome to another episode of Games and Groceries. My name is Adam.
And I'm Liz.
And we're trying out a new camera angle. Woo! We are here with episode 103, where we're talking about the Venn diagram of gamers and movie lovers with our special guest, Markus Graves. But before we get there, we've got some segments for you. Yes, we do. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, hi. How you doing? So we decided we want to talk to each other face to face. And now this is the first time we're actually filming it because now if you didn't have full-time jobs, I think we would really experiment with this more.
Oh, yeah.
But we just didn't have time. And we have a monitor here. It says Games and Groceries. So it says Games and Groceries, and you'll see some little things popping up in the monitor. Mm-hmm. But what do you think of it so far?
I like it. I like the screen. I think it gives them something to look at other than the two of us.
True. I know it's not as engaging that we're not looking at the camera. We might turn, I don't know. Write in the comments down below. How do you like this angle? We also have camera 2 up there that you're going to see.
I think if we just angle a little bit, I think it works because we're looking at the camera and I'm looking at you. I'm looking at the camera and I'm looking at you.
Yeah. So get used to it because we're not changing again.
That's a lie.
Yeah. It's just that this room is, and I promise we're going to start pretty soon. It's just that this room is just not engaging. And this is the only room we can do the podcast. We have discussed this many times.
Many times. At least once a month we discuss if we can move this anywhere else other than to another house.
Yeah, pretty much. We do with what we can. We're going to mess with, we got new lights. So they're less in the way. But so we'll see. We'll see how this all works out. We're going to experiment more, and we just want to make it a more engaging watch for you. We want to make sure that if we ask you subscribe to the channel, that we earn it and not pay for subscribers. But is what it is. So I think we should get started because our special guest is waiting on the line for us.
Yeah.
But before we get there, if you haven't yet, follow us on the social medias. You should do that. Are you on social media? What? You are? Maybe you should follow us. You can follow us. You can follow us on Twitter at Gaming Groceries, or you can follow us individually. I'm at Ace the Grocer.
And I'm at Journey First.
So you can follow us there, be friends with us there, and harass us on Twitter.
Well, maybe not.
Don't harass me. But we also have an Instagram, Games and Groceries, all one word, and you can check out little memes here and there, some behind-the-scenes photos, and questions I'll ask about the podcast and bring you into the discussion. Find us on Facebook. Just search for us on Facebook. There's nothing more to say there, but I do post on Facebook much more often now. Definitely check out our other podcast, What's the Biz, with Adam and Liz. There's a link down below for a Spotify link, but it's available on Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, all that jazz. And definitely give us a rating on Podchaser. Podchaser, of course, is the best way to rate the podcast. Really puts us up there in the rankings. And 2 last things. Website, gamesandgroceries.com. Check out the website. That's all I'm going to say for it. But we have an article coming up pretty soon from our writer friend, Mike. I still haven't gotten permission to say his last name, so I should ask him because I am in contact with him. But it is what it is.
It is what it is.
But if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so that you know when all of these podcasts come out, as well as one last announcement because I just thought of it.
Okay.
So usually we do video essays on this YouTube channel.
Yes.
This is going to be the last video essay for at
least for the foreseeable future.
Yes. We want to give you more content that we can do that we're proud of. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll just say it. We like doing the skits of the video essays way more.
They're fun.
We want to do more skits for the YouTube channel, more comedy skits. And I came from a comedy skit YouTube channel, and then comedy skits died off, and then they're coming back again. So this is where I stand.
Yeah.
But the video essays, we enjoy the end product, but they take so long to do.
They do.
That I don't want you to subscribe to the channel and just get podcast, video, podcast.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to give you more content if you subscribe to the channel, even if you don't. But all right, I've talked enough. Let's just get started with our first segment.
Movie Minutes.
Movie Minutes is a segment that we talk about the movies that we saw in the past week, and we like to recommend it or we don't recommend it. Where do we watch these movies? Of course, we watch it on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, not really in theaters at this point in time because of reasons. And we like to recommend a movie or we don't recommend a movie. So, this week on Movie Minutes, we are talking about the movie Uncut Gems,
Woo!
starring Adam Sandler
Yeah.
and other people.
Yeah.
And Kevin Garnett.
Yeah.
That was weird. Opening thoughts.
It was different.
Okay.
Like I liked the story.
Yeah.
The story was very good. It's just the way they told it was very. It's like they tried to do something different, but it didn't turn out well.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, like they wanted to do something different with it. Like they're like, we want to tell the story because it's been told,
Mm-hmm.
but we want to tell it in a different way. And they just, you could see where they tried, and it could have been okay, but it was not good.
Yeah.
It was not good storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me talk about this for a bit. My first note is that this is a very dark themed movie. Like the tone is very dark all the way throughout.
Yeah.
And it's very tense to watch. And the whole story is that Howard, who is Adam Sandler's character, Howard is this guy who always screws himself over. He always gets himself. It's never the world that's really tearing
he's
him
always
down.
getting himself in trouble by doing something stupid.
And then, okay, so the plot of the movie is he gets a black opal from Nigeria?
Ethiopia.
Okay. I knew it was Iya.
Yeah.
But he gets it from Ethiopia. And Kevin Garnett, like the real Kevin Garnett, played by Kevin Garnett, who is supposed to be playing 2012 version of Kevin Garnett in 2019.
Yeah.
Which Kevin Garnett looks fantastic. Like,
I don't know what he looked like before, so.
Well, you saw the clips. Like that was the real games.
Oh.
And he looks fantastic.
Yeah. I didn't know they were of real games.
No, that's the real game. Yeah. But yeah, Kevin Garnett was obsessed with this opal and he's trying to get the opal. That's pretty much
he's trying to steal the opal.
That's the thing. It was just so weird. Like I didn't understand. I understood the plot, but we're going to talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
But it's just a very dark tone and he always gets himself in trouble. Kevin Garnett is screwing him over. His own people that he's close with is screwing him. And it's just a weird dynamic. It's a weird way to tell a story.
It is because they just kind of like jump to things. They don't do it in like a normal story, like movie storytelling fashion where it's like, this is the lead up and then it's the climax. Then it's like, all right, this is the fallout. It's like, it's all the lead up and the end of the movie is the climax.
Yeah. No, it's very, very odd. The second note, and I talked about how stressful this movie is. It's very stressful to watch with not many breaks. It doesn't really break the tension too well.
No.
Which is a good
You're always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that this movie, it's good in that way where it really puts your blood pressure up.
That's what I mean. The story is good.
Yeah. The acting is fantastic.
The acting is amazing.
Exactly. And it does put the tension up to 11 and it doesn't give you any kind of break. There was one laughing part and it's just like a little giggle. Like there's a couple of them sprinkled, not even sprinkled, just dropped and dropped. And that's the thing. It's very stressful watching this movie. And I just didn't understand why we were watching this. It was very odd.
Yeah.
It wasn't pleasant to watch.
Yeah, and I was like a little, not annoyed. Annoyed's not the right word. I was just like disappointed. That's the word I was looking for. I was a little disappointed because when it was advertised as like Adam Sandler and Idina Menzel.
Yeah.
Idina Menzel was in like 4 scenes. Like she was a side character.
Yeah.
She was not a main character. She was a supporting role. And I was just like, I thought it was Adam Sandler and Idina Menzel, not Adam Sandler and Idina Menzel plays his wife. Whatever. Like what? I was a little disappointed.
Yeah, and my final note is that I'm not sure why this movie exists. And that's the other thing with movie critics, you always get that. It's just whenever you ask that, why does this movie have to exist? Is it's weird to say because no movie needs to exist.
Yeah.
But this movie doesn't really have a purpose.
It doesn't serve a purpose other than it's telling you don't make stupid decisions.
But we've had movies like that.
I know.
And that's the thing, is that we've had movies just like this, and it didn't really bring anything groundbreaking. I wouldn't say anything new, because it did bring some things new, but it's nothing that like really breaks the walls of filmmaking. And I might be cynical in that way because this movie does have very high ratings. It does. But in my mind, it just, I don't know why this needed to exist. I don't know why this was made.
Yeah.
So that's our non-spoiler. This is on Netflix. Did I mention that? It's on Netflix now. Well, it's Uncut Gems. It's on Netflix. What did you give it out of 10? I
gave it a 5.
Yes.
Okay, I couldn't remember. But I gave it a 5 because the acting was really good. Like I said, this movie had potential to be really good. It was just the storytelling was off and it just rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
I loved the end. Like, that was good. And like I said, the acting was amazing, but really it's the storytelling that made the rating so low.
Right. So, yeah, I also gave it a 5. I was hovering over a 4. Only because I just kept watching it, and I wasn't getting what I was supposed to get. I wasn't getting, should I be not rooting for Adam Sandler? Why is Adam Sandler always getting himself in trouble? Why is Kevin Garnett always obsessed with his opal? It was just, the story was kind of a mess in my mind. There were so many side stories going on here, and it wasn't really, connecting. It was just
it's like they started us in the middle of a movie.
Yeah, and you didn't understand why he was doing this. You don't understand his character. There's no character development. It's just the movie happens.
It's just like, this is who this guy is. Watch it.
And the emotions are high. The acting is fantastic.
Yeah.
But in terms of why should I watch this movie, I couldn't tell you. I don't know if I could recommend it or not. Just because in my mind, I don't know why this exists.
Yeah.
So, very unpopular opinion over here. I'm going to go for it. Going to give it a 5. It's fine. I wouldn't recommend it. It's fine.
If you're interested in it, go ahead, watch it. But if you weren't interested in it to begin with, you don't need to watch it.
Yeah, there's no story beats in here that really are the most groundbreaking. It is what it is. So, again, that's Uncut Gems. It's on Netflix. It stars Adam Sandler. Sometimes stars, how did,
Adele Dazeem.
It stars, Idina Menzel. Again, it's on Netflix. So check it out for yourself. I gave it a 5 just because I don't know if I could recommend it as a movie.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do. A lot of people enjoy it. Good for them. I'm just, it's not that I think it's bad. It's just that
it was okay.
That's the thing. It was fine. Like, I don't know if I would go out of my door and like, you need to watch Uncut Gems like I was with Parasite.
Yeah.
Parasite, you have to watch. It's on Hulu. You have to watch Parasite.
We're not talking about that one anymore.
Parasite was fantastic.
I know.
Okay. We're going to mess with the lights. By the way, if you're watching us on this new angle,
the lighting may change from scene to scene.
It might, because again, this is the first time we're actually filming it for a long time. I feel like we need to put up the brightness a little bit. So, but yeah, while we do that, while we turn up the brightness, let's just go on to our next segment.
Top 3 Gaming News.
The top 3 gaming news is the gaming news that we saw in the past week, and we like to rank it 3, 2, 1, just to give you a condensed version of what's going on in the gaming industry. Liz, what's going on in the gaming industry?
Things.
Yeah. Cool. So this is top 3 gaming news. We've got 3 pieces of gaming news that happened in the past week, and there's a guy in a little business suit there. I don't know. I thought it was funny. I guess it's not very funny. But yeah, let's just start with our number 1 gaming news. I'm so self-conscious about this setup.
I'm not. I like it.
Yeah, I know. I'm very self-conscious, and I'm just like focusing on.
It's just different.
I know. So our number 3 gaming news is that MLB stars are actually going forward, and they are saying that video games help them.
Nice.
They help them play baseball. Video games are the savior to honing the skills of baseball players.
I wouldn't go that far.
I'm pretty sure. So, former Philly Hunter Pence, I'm not going to call him San Francisco Giant
Ugh.
Hunter Pence. Former Philly
Yeah.
Hunter Pence has come forward. He has come forward as if he's come forward in court, saying that he's been playing a lot of video games, more specifically World of Warcraft. I believe he also said Diablo 3. Articles are linked down below in the description. So he has said that these have helped him with his hand-eye coordination. So let me bring up this quote from Mr. Pence. There's science behind video games helping with quick decision-making because in a lot of specific games, you're working on timing and anticipation, similar to recognizing a pitch at the plate. So he's also saying things like it's been proven, and this article goes on to say that, yeah, there's been a lot of different studies to say that it does help with not only quick decision-making, hand-eye coordination, and just it's all around reflexes.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think?
No, I definitely agree. I never would have thought about it, but I can definitely see where video games would be beneficial in baseball, because you have to make quick decisions in baseball, not only at the plate, but when you're in the outfield or anywhere on the field and you're making a play.
Right field. I think he's right field, not left field. Yeah. He is an outfielder though.
But when you're on the field, you have to make like a snap decision. You catch the ball, you're like, all right, which way am I going to throw it? Now you can watch and see like, all right, if I catch it, this is what I'm going to do ahead of time. But usually you're not doing that. At least speaking from personal experience. So you have to make that quick decision of like, all right, which way do I throw it? So I can definitely see that, and helping to, see, you threw me off.
Right.
but it helps. I forget it.
Yeah. No, it has been done many, many, many times.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that Hunter Pence, now he has his own Twitch channel.
Good for him.
Yeah, he actually streams on Twitch too. I can't remember the name of his Twitch channel. I'm sure it's in the article linked down below.
Probably.
But yeah, so he's doing it. And because of this whole pandemic going on, he can't go out to practice. A lot of MLB players can't. And so he's just going to video games to help him with his reaction time, which is going to be great for the off season and for the in season once it finally happens, possibly all in Arizona, which is crazy to think about.
Disappointing.
Yeah.
But this is this reminds me of like when you have like football players doing ballet.
Yeah.
Like things like that, because it helps them do stuff. Like you wouldn't think that it would help, but it does.
Yeah. But good for Hunter. Come back to the Phillies, but good for Hunter. Actually, no, don't go back, because we got Bryce Harper in the right field. We don't need Hunter.
Okay.
Get out of here, Hunter Pence. Stupid. Anyways, but the number 2 gaming news is about physical games. The UK has come out and said that in the month of April, physical game sales have risen in the past 5 years. This is the most they've sold of physical games since 2015. Now, this is coming from I don't know. I can't remember the source. I am off my game today. It was a weird week.
It was a weird week, and you're getting used to the new setup, because you're not only controlling a laptop, but you're also controlling a TV.
Yeah, I am really
and
off.
running the whole show. You're so talented.
Thanks.
Good job, hun. You're doing great.
But yeah, so this is coming from a sales unit. I'm sorry, but it's in the article link down below. And it's generated. So the physical game sales have generated 130 million pounds for game retailers in the UK. Now, of course, sales have gone down since March. April was down from March, but what came out in March?
Animal Crossing?
Animal Crossing!
I forgot the name for a second.
Wow, you play it pretty much every day. But yeah,
I know.
Animal Crossing came out, and of course, that just spiked. And that's when the pandemic first started, and people were stocking up. But April still not with digital sales, but physical.
Which is surprising. Because you'd think the pandemic would prevent physical sales from even being made.
You would think. But and what's more interesting, so let me read this quote here before I get into the interesting part. Go, Adam. So this quote from the article linked down below. The best-selling boxed video game of April was Final Fantasy VII Remake, of course. Although the game didn't quite reach the sales heights of 2016's Final Fantasy 15, the remake suffered distribution challenges as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. Another game that was likely impacted by the crisis was a remake of Resident Evil 3, which was the fifth best-selling game of the month.
Good job.
She sells seashells on the sea.
You got this.
Thank you. But yeah, this is crazy though, especially since the CEO of Frontier, not the internet's company, another Frontier, David Brasher, I can't remember his name, but he has said that in 2 or 3 years that physical games are just going to go away. And I do not agree with that at all because of bandwidth caps. There's no way. But yeah, so there's been sayings that physical games are going to die out very soon, and nobody really uses physical games. But look at this. The sales are the strongest in April in 5 years.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
That's good for physical games. You know what's that really good for? It's our good buddies over at Limited
Run Games.
Man, what is wrong with me?
You're sleepy.
No, I'm not sleepy. No, it's just a weird week.
Yeah, it was.
But
it's gloomy outside.
It's gloomy. We had a holiday on.
Oh yeah, I only had 4-day week.
It was weird. I'm off my game, and plus, I'm
way off your game.
Yeah, this is just throwing me off so much.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll get used to it. Everyone will get used to it.
Yeah,
but we're all gonna do great. Good job, everybody.
Jeez. But yeah, definitely writing down in the comments down below. Do you like this angle? We don't have a 3-camera setup, so we of course the idea would be a camera on me, camera on you, camera on the center. But right now we have one DSLR camera and one webcam going up there. So
you work with what you got.
But is what it is. So let's just go on to the number one gaming news, because everyone's here for our guests. Nobody actually likes us. They're just here for the guests. I mean,
totally.
Especially next week. My goodness, I'm just going to be completely ignored. But the number one gaming news is that the Xbox Series X can add HDR in 120 frames per second to support older games, which is bananas.
So it will make older games look better?
Yes.
That's talented.
Including original Xbox games.
That's extra talented.
So Xbox has already come out. Microsoft has already said that the Xbox Series X will launch with thousands of games. And you think about that, wow, you're going to launch with thousands of games? Backwards compatibility.
Yeah, that's the thousands.
That's the thousands. It is not
thousands of new ones.
Not thousands of new ones. It is backwards compatibility. I believe we actually reported on an article where it said that there's thousands of games in developments. I vaguely
remember that. Yeah,
I think he said in E3, like we have thousands of games. It's just like it didn't really lie, but
they said in development. That's not in development. They've been developed.
I don't think he said development.
Oh well, then
he might have said it in a way where he
could get away with it.
Yeah, you can't bring him to court, kind of thing. But
stupid.
It is what it is. But yeah. So this is coming from a report from the program director over at, or the program partner. But yeah, I just want to read this quote right here. So this is coming from project management partner Jason Ronald. I almost call him Jonathan Ronald. What is wrong with me today? A lot of things. So this is coming from Jason Ronald, who says, in partnership with the Xbox Advanced Technology Group, Xbox Series X delivers a new innovative HDR reconstruction technique, which enables the platform to, here's the keyword here, automatically add HDR support to games. A partner director of management, blah, blah, blah. As this technique is handled by the platform itself, it allows us to enable HDR with zero impact to the game's performance, and we can also apply it to Xbox 360 and original Xbox titles developed almost 20 years ago, well before the existence of HDR. What is this nonsense?
I'm interested in seeing what that looks like and how enhanced it actually is.
Yeah, it's going to be insane. It's going to be insane. Like they said that it will double the frame rate. So like if it was at 30 frames 30 frames per second, it will upgrade to 60.
Yeah.
If it was at 60, it will upgrade to 120. But the most impressive part is the HDR to original Xbox games.
Mm-hmm.
Bananas. So I'm thinking that it's probably Splinter Cell is going to be... Well, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say specific games. It says that games are just going to be added automatically HDR.
So like all of them.
I guess so.
That would be all. That would I like that though. Like if it's just like all games ever on Xbox,
Yeah.
are all backwards compatible. That would be so much easier than having to look it up every time. Like, is this one backwards compatible? Because I've run into that problem.
It does say that all the games that are playable on Xbox One will be playable on Series X. So not all games are backwards compatible on yet. Now I'm sure the ideal for Xbox is to say that all games, if it's an Xbox game, it runs on Series X. That would be insane. But there's some really good games on there that's, there's some good games on there that are backwards compatible. Now, of course, the game that I want to be backwards compatible that never was is Jet Set Radio Future.
I know.
Which was included in the first Xbox. If it was included in the first Xbox, bring it to backwards compatible. And I know it's licensing deals. I understand.
One day, honey.
I understand. I understand. I understand it had to do with licensing deals. I get it. But I'm a whiny baby, and I want my Jet Set Radio Future with HDR and 60 frames per second. You can add me on Twitter. I will fight you. Don't even challenge me. But any other thoughts on that?
I think we should just go into our guest.
Yeah. So write in comments down below. What do you think about these news pieces? We've got a MLB star saying that video games help him hone his skills. We've got physical game sales going up in the UK, and their physical games aren't going away anytime soon. And then we also have the Series X adding HDR and 120 frames per second upgrade to older games. So all well and good. So write in comments down below. What do you think? I think it's time to come to our guests.
I think so too.
So this man. If you listen to the Games and Groceries podcast, you know who he is. If you ever listen to it, which you just did, the top 3 gaming news guy. That's him. It's Markus Graves.
Yep.
He has a channel on YouTube called Markus Graves where he reviews anime, and he's really cool. He was my favorite roommate in college. So I'm just saying that on the record because he's our guest, but no other reason. All right, let's just bring him on with our final segment.
Coffee time.
All right, we are back with our special guest that you can see in the monitor now if you're watching on YouTube.
Hello.
Magic.
Hello, everybody.
What's your name? How'd you break into my home?
My name is, you don't need to know, and I broke into your house through unknown means.
Unknown means.
That's all you need to know.
I mean, you are in a TV monitor, so it is by unknown means.
Indeed.
Yeah, true.
Almost like sorcery, one might say.
Oh my God. What is this sorcery? We are living in the 1800s, of course.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Or the 1800s or the 1900s or the early 1900s. It feels like it with what's going on right now.
I was about to say, yeah,
Yeah.
So this is Markus Graves. Of course, I said that if you've ever heard our podcast ever before, the top 3 gaming news guy, pretty much.
Yes, sir.
He is more than that. He has his own YouTube channel. Markus, why don't you introduce yourself? What do we know about you? How's your YouTube channel doing?
Sure. Hello, everyone. In case you are not knowing, I don't know why I'm looking up at my microphone when I said that, but hey. Hello, everybody. Markus Graves. You may have seen me on Games and Groceries podcast about Star Wars. Well, man, when we do that? 6 months ago?
It was before Rise of Skywalker, so it had to be October, maybe?
Somewhere around there. It was a while ago. It feels like yesterday,
it was
though, too.
Longer ago.
Yeah, true.
I know, right? It's weird. But yeah, I was on there. As Adam said, I have my own YouTube channel. I do various different things. I have my 2 short films, Yin and Yang and Assassin of the Flame on there. I do reactions to Naruto, Band of Brothers, Black Mirror. Well, Black Mirror will be coming out soon.
Oh, yeah.
Probably shouldn't have said that. No, it will be coming out soon. Jeez. But yeah, and I also do video essays and breakdowns. Yeah, I do all types of stuff over there.
Nice.
And it's going well. Yeah.
Yeah. You're well over 1,000 subscribers at this point.
Yeah, I think last count I was at 1,700. I think.
Dang.
Yeah.
Look at
So
that,
yeah,
man.
it's been pretty
Wow.
good. Yeah. So I thank you to everyone that supports. I'm greatly appreciative.
Boom.
Yeah.
There it is. So I thought we could start off this conversation because we did touch on it a little bit about the pandemic.
Yeah.
Sure.
Where you're located, we're not going to say your current location because you're under witness protection, of course.
Oh, geez.
But
Yes, come on. Yeah, don't give me all my information away, Facebook.
we're not about doxing here. But
Yeah.
in your neck of the woods, how are we doing? Is it scary over there? Like, what's going on over there?
Everything is good. I think the only thing that seems out of the ordinary, well, everything is out of the ordinary right now, but that kind of seems like it's out of a movie or out of a television show.
Yeah.
Because when you go into like the grocery stores and you have like sometimes an aisle that's just completely devoid of anything. And it's just like, man, it almost feels like The Walking Dead around here. Like, where are the walkers at? Where are the zombies? You know, something's about to happen. But yeah, other than that, everything is good, man. Just trying to, just hoping that everything returns to some sort of normality soon. At least some modicum of it. But yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. We're definitely in the middle ground where we want people to be safe, we want people to be healthy, but we also want that bit of normalcy where it's just, I don't know, it's all just a weird time, man. It's weird.
It is. I mean, especially because I don't want, not to get too deep into it because I don't want to have anybody divisive in your comments and everything like that. But it's like I hear what people are saying when it comes to hey, stay safe, let's do all this other stuff, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
I with my grandmother or my autoimmune deficient mother, of course, I'm looking out for them, taking precautions. But then again, me and my mom were germaphobes to begin with, so everything that's happening is not anything out of the ordinary for how we automatically do. Maybe just a bit of extra precaution, but at the same time, it's like at a certain point, it's like we all have to live at a certain point. Are we going to hunker down for a year and a half with 33 million people on unemployment? It's like and possibly more as time goes on. So I get both sides. We have to stay safe. We have to have precaution. I agree with that, but at the same time, as certainly as more information comes out, like I think I could be wrong, but if my information is correct, the CDC said that 35% of people who catch COVID-19 or are infected with COVID-19 are asymptomatic.
Yeah.
And then of the 65% that are symptomatic, 0.26 is fatal. And I hate to break it down like that because it's like it makes it seem like the people that have died are just numbers, and of course they're not. But
of course,
it's just a thing where I heard somebody say this, and I agree with them. We take risks every day. This is just something that's new that we've never dealt with before. So I understand the precaution. But when it comes to the flu, or even when we had West Nile back in the day, Ebola, whatever the case may be, there's always, and yes, you can argue that it wasn't as communicable as this, and that's certainly an argument to be made, but there's always a risk of something. Yeah. So we always assume that risk going out. We always assume that risk of taking precaution to not bring it back to people that would be greatly affected by it. So I don't know. It's I see both sides.
No, I'm in your camp too. It's just I can't get on either one of the extremes. I'm just right in the middle. We say it all the time on the podcast. We're registered Green Party. Like we're more saving the trees, man. Like that's pretty much it. But yeah. No, I 100% agree with you, which is why we were roommates in college. Yeah,
I think one of the I think our stay together was like some of the smoothest roommate experiences I've ever had.
Man, like I don't want to get into it, but like I wish I stayed roommates with you the following year, but I don't want to get into like any kind of drama on here. There's enough of that on YouTube.
Come on, spill the tea.
Well, my laptop's on the table. I can't be spilling tea here, but
that's true. Hardware, got to be safe about the hardware.
Right? Yeah. Okay, Liz is uncomfortable. So yeah, we're here with a topic of the gaming industry, and you're not too much of a gamer. You do play a good amount of games, but
every now and then, yeah.
But you're more of a movie lover. You're a fantastic movie lover. You appreciate the art of film and music. And I want to definitely bring you on, one, because I want an excuse to catch up with you. And two, I want to talk about this kind of Venn diagram of gamers and movie lovers and even cinephiles, and where do we all meet in the kind of the middle here. So now we're setting up these two circles, right? Because that's what a Venn diagram is. There's two circles.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, in those two circles, right, we definitely have our differences. We have our similarities, but where are the similarities of the two groups? Marcus, you had some thoughts before we started.
Sure. Oh yeah, definitely. Actually, I think you can almost break it down in like two separate categories. You have gamers and cinephiles, and then you have games and movies. Yeah. Because when you think about the similarity and difference between them, you'll probably find more similarities between gamers and cinephiles. In this way is what I was thinking anyway before we hopped on. Most of them want to be locked in and engaged, whether it be gamers or cinephiles. Whatever they're coming to, they want to be engrossed. They want to feel for the characters. They want to go on a journey with the characters. They can both look at the visuals, especially nowadays. Especially nowadays when you have things like the PS5 and the what is it coming out? The Xbox
Series X.
Series X
which
coming out.
Which is the dumbest name.
The Xbox Xavier, whatever. It's they all. What are the biggest things that they usually show off during the conferences, which is the visuals and the graphics, such as I'm not sure if you guys saw the trailer. The Senua. It's a sequel to Senua Hellblade.
Oh
yeah.
So man, what was the name of it?
I can't remember the name.
Oh, I can't remember the name, but I did see the and that was in engine. Like that was
right, and that was crazy.
Yeah,
that was insane, and stuff like that, where it's like you have gamers and cinephiles both looking at that, and you're like, "Oh my god, it looks like a freaking movie."
And that's the thing when games are advancing, the graphics are advancing, we're going to see this very close similarity between realistic and movies, right? Like it's going to be the same kind of CGI as you see in movies, and once that comes to play, you're not really going to see a difference.
Yeah.
It's
and speaking of that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go for it, man.
Yeah, and speaking of that, of the graphics and everything and how it's starting to meld together with the two, take something like PS4 God of War, where you have motion capture between Christopher Judge and the boy who plays Atreus.
Oh, and I can't remember his name. He was in mid-90s.
I can't remember it either.
Oh man,
it's
he was good though.
To the conversation though.
And here's the thing, and you know what? And that's the thing where, because even though I'm pulling these names out, what's funny is I haven't played God of War, but I enjoy watching Let's Plays on YouTube.
Yeah.
Especially when something like God of War or the Telltale games or whatever the case may be. And the reason I enjoy that is because it is, especially the Telltale games, it's like watching an interactive movie.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
So I never felt the need to play the Telltale games, but I enjoyed watching other people play it to see their reaction to the story.
Yeah,
not necessarily the gameplay, particularly the Telltale, because let's be honest, the Telltale gameplay is very limited.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot. It's pretty much move, press the buttons, and maybe some cutscenes, what do they call them? QuickTime cutscenes, in there. But yeah, like the motion capture, going back to God of War, and then you, of course, that was motion capture. You see pioneered, one of the pioneering roles was Andy Serkis and Gollum in Lord of the Rings. And of course, that's grown over time to the point where you can have things like the Polar Express, or you can have, all different types, or the Planet of the Apes, the new Planet of the Apes films.
Yes.
All that stuff there. It's like they're all starting to meld together and become near one. And when you look at stuff like that, like gamers and cinephiles, they'll go to graphics. So you see that they're putting more of an emphasis on that. As much as people don't talk about this often, but if the sound is bad, people will talk about it. But sound design.
Mm-hmm.
Sound design and audio, and even though people will not be as much on the topic, like you won't hear even cinephiles or gamers say, "Oh, well, the audio. I wonder what type of microphone." They probably won't say that, but they will know, like, this isn't clicking though. Like the sound isn't right. So they all come to it looking for that. So I think in that regard, they're all very similar. Even now that's the cinephiles and the gamers, and I don't want to move too much ahead of you. But what I was thinking is that's the people coming to it. I think the biggest thing, like as the similarities grow between video games and movies, you'll start to see how the similarities and as they become more similar, one big distinction pops up. But before that, I wanted to hear what you guys had to say, because I just realized I'm like, wow, I've really been talking for a while. So what were you guys thinking?
Well, no, like the one thing I was gonna go back to, and talking about God of War, it's funny. I don't know if you ever saw the interview from Christopher Judge, who played the God of War, but he played Kratos. Boy. He actually didn't believe that he was auditioning for a video game. Like he read the script.
Saying that.
Yeah, he read the script and he came onto the set, and he did not believe he was part of a video game, because he kept saying, I'm saying this verbatim, not verbatim, not really on verbatim, but he very much said that I didn't believe that video games could be this emotional.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But Liz, what are your thoughts?
I actually think it's funny that Marcus brought up the Let's Plays.
Yes.
Because that's how you got me into video games. You said, well, I think you'll really like the story. Like, watch PewDiePie play this.
Yeah.
And I think it must have been Life is Strange.
Yeah.
Like, that must have been the first one I watched. And then I was like, well, I don't like his answers. Like, I don't like the choices he made. So now I want to play that game.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what grew me into getting into video games, was because you're like, well, Liz, you really enjoy watching movies. So why don't you watch this video game? Because it's kind of like that. He's just making a couple choices.
Right.
So, I mean, I just thought it was funny that Marcus mentioned that, because that's literally what got me into video games.
Yeah. And there are sometimes, like, with Marcus, and I know a couple of people who they want to know the story of the game. They want to watch the story. Right. They don't necessarily want to go into the gameplay, right?
And I still sit in that boat sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, Marcus, now do you play any kind of video games lately, or?
Lately I've been using my emulator and playing the old school Pokemon games.
I gotta respect that.
Nice.
Yeah, right.
But I was gonna say,
I will be starting something soon where right now my computer that I edit and do all my stuff on finally crapped out on me. It's been good though. It did me good for 5 years. And,
pretty good.
It was pretty good for me. So, but right now I'm in the process of, instead of a laptop, because I had an Asus ROG, and somebody maybe listening is like, well, you had a gaming laptop, but you never game. It's like, well, because I needed something visually intensive for my films.
No, I have a gaming laptop, and I don't really game on it just because
we use it for editing.
It just puts a lot of strain on the gaming laptop. I'm like, I don't want to risk it. We edit on this, man. Like,
right, exactly. Yeah. It's like, that's what I was using for too, because I'm like, okay, I know I'm not going to be doing any crazy stuff like 4K and all this other stuff.
Right.
So I'm like, I just need it for this. It finally died out on me, but I'm in the process of getting a desktop. Yeah. So something one that could be more powerful, but also two, something that if something does go wrong, because it was the battery on this one, if something does go wrong, then I can just more or less easily switch up the interface instead of having to take the whole thing apart just to get to one component. But that's a little aside. But yeah, I'm doing that. I say that to say when I do get this, I wanted to start in addition to like my short films, my reactions, breakdowns, all that stuff. I wanted to start getting into some Let's Plays of my own.
Okay.
Nice.
Now it wouldn't be anything crazy. Anybody who watches this and you watch, I don't know, Tyrone Magnus or Mars, whoever, whoever you watch, that's who I watch anyway. Whoever you watch, I won't be doing things like that, because I don't have a PS4. I don't hook the stuff up, but I will be trying to do some stuff off of Steam. Maybe some Knights of the Old Republic 2, which I never played.
You never played that one?
I never played.
You played the
first one.
I was about to say.
What's up?
I was going to say, if you didn't play the first one.
All right, yeah. I played the first one. First one is a classic.
Yeah,
it's amazing. I just never played the second.
Oh,
and I never played the Jedi Academy games.
Oh no!
I know, but all three are on Steam.
Yeah,
so I'm like, okay, then I can do some Let's Plays of that. So I am planning on doing. So I may be swinging over into gaming a little bit more. You know.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up Star Wars games, because the question I was going to ask you is that when I asked, are you playing any kind of games? About Jedi Fallen Order, of course.
Yes, and that was when I was planning on doing a Let's Play. That's why I was going to do some Let's Plays, watching them. But I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, let me hold off on that so I can do one myself for Jedi Fallen Order.
And that's the thing, is that for Jedi Fallen Order, the story is so interesting. It's so intriguing. But the difficulty level, and especially my biggest gripe with it, when we had Sean Chandler on, even he had this big gripe, is that the map design. Or not the leveling system, but the level design of it is just so what's the word I'm looking for? It's convoluted. Yeah, actually. It's not designed in a good way, and sometimes there's glitches, and sometimes the difficulty can get a little too much.
Yeah.
Where I just wanted to know the story of Jedi Fallen Order, so I just turned down the difficulty to easy.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I didn't care who judged me.
You just wanted to know the story and it. Yeah.
And that's
you wanted to go for the ride.
I did. And that's the thing, is that a lot of people say, like, oh, I want a Dark Souls and a Star Wars game. I just want a Star Wars story. And that's where we can get into like the Venn diagram of their like similarities, is that video games tell really good stories. And in terms of how they tell their stories, even how a video game tells its story, I know you watched Jeremy Johns. When it was funny, because when he said that when he was watching The Mandalorian, he was saying that the way Mandalorian was kind of setting the stories, it was much like a video game, and saying that you need to do this, you need to go to this side mission, you need to get this.
I remember that video.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I agreed with him then as well, where I'm like, you know what? I do see what he means about, particularly that first episode when you think about it. Okay, I need to get a bounty. That could be like a side quest.
Yeah.
But then you have, I have this mission for you. And that side quest becomes part of the main story, and then that becomes Baby Yoda. And on the mission there, you encounter bounty hunters and an IG droid, also. And it's like, you know what? It really is very similar. Now, that's the thing, though, about this Venn diagram.
Yeah.
Is the medium of storytelling, whether it be movies or TV, emulating the games, or games emulating movies and TV. And like, as we said, it's melding so much now that which one is taking inspiration from which. Yeah.
Well, it's almost like that you can also say, are movies emulating books, right?
Right.
Another
like, completely different medium, but storytelling.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that originally that video games emulated more. I think they more emulated TV shows to begin with, because the way a movie kind of tells a story is a lot more confined, whereas a TV show expands. There's chapters, there's different stories. So I think that a video game more expands on a TV show. And
I can see that.
Yeah, and that's
actually Pretty Little Liars was based on a book series.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. Very true.
And you know what? Going with the whole thing of you saying that they were inspired more by TV, and you're right, because you have more of like a serialized, sometimes maybe or serialized, or it could be episodic, or it could be whatever the case may be, and it's meant to be long form.
Yeah,
so it would take more from that. But then now you see movies are starting to take from TV as well, such as the MCU, a very serialized franchise that if you catch one or two movies here, it could be good. Yeah. You could catch Iron Man, you could catch Black Panther, you could still be all right and not see the other movies and still be cool. You can't get to a movie like Infinity War or Endgame and not have seen, I mean, you could watch it, but there would not be the same amount of one, appreciation, or two, the same amount of just depth knowledge and intricate and depth, because you didn't see the story leading up to it. And it's like reading page 484 of a novel,
right,
from the start before you did the first, before you did the first pages.
Yeah.
So I think so maybe it's TV that's been infecting everything. Movies,
True.
video games, all that stuff.
Because I always think about it. It's just when I see a story, right? Even in a video game, I just think about, would this have been better as a movie, right? Because you start to see that video games are now becoming movies. More recently, the Sonic movie, which, by the way, I just watched the Sonic movie. It was okay.
That's what I've been hearing.
Yeah, it's definitely a kids movie. It is most definitely a kids movie. The way it man, why am I forgetting words? When there's narration in the background and it tries to explain something, it starts with an E.
Exposition?
Thank you. The way it does exposition, there's literally a scene where Sonic has to leave the world, right? Because he did that like whole, electric boom thing. And he's in his little hut. Oh, I have to take the things. I have to take the things. Oh, no. He literally says, like, oh, no, they're right outside. I need to go get this thing and this thing. And like, oh, no, I only have a little bit of time. And he says it out loud as the character, but he's saying it almost as exposition. And I was like,
right. It's to inform the audience. And it's like, why is the character saying this right now?
Exactly.
In this moment.
It's definitely a kid's movie. But it's not the worst. It's definitely not the worst. Paddington, it does the same kind of beats as Paddington, but I think Paddington handled it way better.
Well, of course you do.
Well, of course I do, because Paddington is a classic,
Now, going with what you said.
Yeah.
With the narration and the exposition in order to drive something forward, I think works better in a video game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For a very particular reason, but that gets into the differences between, or the big difference between movies and games. But you know what I was also thinking about this. You mentioned the characters, and it made me think of the acting.
Yeah,
and that's also something that you see that has started that's carried over now into games. And helped with the advent of motion capture. Yeah. Where you see these characters are now acting. They are now being brought to life. I'm sure we remember old PS1 and PS2 games where they tried to do as much as they could with the facial expressions, and it's like
they did everything they could, and it
was great, and it was great at the time.
At the time, yeah.
It's only in hindsight that we see, I don't know about that, but before it was the stuff right there, and I think all that stuff is carried over, and I think if you would like me to go down this route now.
Okay.
That's one thing. That's one thing I was thinking is one of the other big similarities between movies and games is how they evolved.
Yeah.
You have, like, let's take movies. You have the silent films,
right?
Charlie Chaplin, all that stuff, and you have all this there. And then you have the advent of the talkies. Now we can incorporate sound into this. Now you're getting past the thing that's no longer, you brought up books. You're getting past the thing that you're visually doing it now instead of verbal or written presentation or pictographic presentation. And the medium of film itself is to convey the story visually, audio visually.
Yeah.
A story, and by that I mean because it could be like, there's all different types of storytelling. What I mean by story is like it's simple. Situations and events that have an intentioned trajectory.
Right. It's
really all a story is. And I break that down for this reason when it'll mean more when we get to video games. Because like you have all this stuff, the utilization of the wow, I'm blanking.
I know.
You're rubbing off
utilization.
On
I know. Right? Utilization of audio now into movies. And then as time went on, you started getting into more visuals, like, what can we do with the visuals? Maybe more resolution. Maybe we can do the production design a little bit differently. Go and get back to what you were saying about Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
In a way, the map is production design. So you have all that there, and then you have the advent of CGI and what you could do with that and upping the visuals there. Is very similar to video games.
Right.
When you had 8-bit, graphics and the sound cards that only had the doop doop.
Yeah,
the whole thing going there. Yeah. And as they began to evolve, they incorporated the same things: motion capture, CGI, sound design, production design.
Yeah,
they had a very similar trajectory. Now the thing is, where did that begin? And I think when you look, because the arcades were first, excuse me, the arcades were first, and you have things like Galaga or Double Dragon,
right,
Street Fighter, and you have these things there where it's like the graphics weren't great at the time because we couldn't see them. We couldn't see them any other way. But then you started to develop it where it's like, oh, maybe we can add more here.
Yeah.
Maybe we can up the sound design. And then at a certain point, video games started seeing, and feel free to cut me off. I feel like I'm talking for a long time, but feel free to cut me off. It's at a certain point, you started to see more complex storytelling. More, or maybe complex is not the word. More involved storytelling.
Where you're going with that is, I would even argue that we've seen a huge jump in terms of storytelling in just this generation of gaming.
Yeah.
Going back to the 360, there was a lot of stories. One of my favorite stories on the 360 was the Mass Effect trilogy. Fantastic. But now you're starting to see a lot more games in this generation.
Like specifically based around storytelling.
Yeah.
And less skill. Because I feel like even Mass Effect requires some level of skill, doesn't it?
Well, a little bit.
Remember.
Not as much as Jedi Fallen Order, but...
Well, no.
But
or even Halo. Like, Halo's a story, but it kept dying.
But now going back to...
or from what I hear, even Sekiro.
Yes.
Shadows Die Twice, I believe it's called. I've been watching some Let's Plays of that, and the difficulty setting is crazy, but that's also kind of makes me want to play it because I'm like, I want to experience how difficult this thing is.
I will say it's very satisfying. I've been playing it, and when you do, here's the thing: when you do die, it's not, it's your fault. It's not the game's fault. Every time you're just like, okay, I'm an idiot. Like I went into trigger happy, like it's my fault. But but going back to Marcus, the way games evolve, right? Evolve. But I want to say this, and I want to read Nikki's answer on how she believes games and movies are similar in that way. But I'm now replaying Halo 2 for the 118th time. I can't even count how many times I've played Halo 2.
Probably as many times as I've seen Gilmore Girls.
Probably more. I would actually say
that's
probably
bad.
As many times as me and you have seen Friends.
Closer to that number, yes.
Okay.
Very much closer to that.
You don't think I've seen Gilmore Girls as many times as you guys have seen
You
Friends?
were not in our room, man.
We had that thing playing constantly.
Yeah, we would be doing homework, and I would be just saying to Marcus, the whole day passed, and I was saying, dude, has that same disc been on the entire day?
And just playing on a loop.
A loop. And we're just like...
This is why our DVDs are broken.
Yeah, all of them are busted.
And then once we figure that out, then we switch out the disc, and this cycle
we go
continues again.
Exactly.
And now we need to buy new ones.
Yeah, they don't play. They always skip. It's so funny. But going back to that, I'm playing Halo 2, but the remastered version, right? And what's really cool about that, I was originally playing the classic version, but then I upped to the remaster. And it's really awesome because you get to see the way... Now, it's not the perfect, but there are some times where you're watching cutscenes and you're starting to see how the story is really played out because now they can put in all these facial animations. Now they can actually put up sets that are actually setting the tone, right? So sometimes you can say remasters aren't really needed, that you have to play on the classic, but it's the way games evolve, right?
Yeah.
That I think it's almost necessary to put a story across because now you're seeing the real emotions, right? Even the reanimation of the grave mind, right? You get to see this like ferocious beast instead of just a hamburger just eating like the air.
The way the writer imagined you seeing it.
Yeah.
Because when you write something, you imagine it in your head, but at the time, technology can only do so much.
Exactly.
So remasters, really, you're getting to see what they imagined you seeing and not what they were able to get you to see.
Now, speaking of remasters, that reminded me, speaking of remasters of Halo and all these things, and Liz, you had said now you get to see the storyteller's original intention with what they were trying to get across.
Yes.
That is a two-edged sword.
Yes.
I'm looking at you, Star Wars reimaginings. Or what did they call it? George Lucas's tinkerings is what we're getting to.
Yeah.
Where it's like, certain things, yes, I get why he did, and it worked well.
What did I watch? It was like a skit, and it's just like, how are there more monsters here? I don't know. George Lucas came through the pipes. He came into the. I don't know where he came from. He added more monsters.
Really, I don't have a problem with the fact that he added more monsters. I have a problem with the fact that they don't blend with everything else.
No,
like he didn't
particularly.
They didn't enhance anything. They just added really bad CGI.
Oh yeah, particularly in Star Wars 77 or A New Hope.
Yes,
you know, where it's like, especially that one shot where the stormtroopers are on the dunes, and you have the one that's on the. Oh man, I'm blanking on the creature's name, but the dewback. He's on the dewback, and you're looking at it, and you're like, this doesn't look right at all.
Doesn't. So let me read this one answer we have. So you can follow us on Twitter at Gaming Groceries, or you can follow us on Instagram, Games and Groceries, all one word. And I will ask you a question about the topic that we're going to be talking about, and I want to involve you in the conversation. So far, Nikki is the only good friend that is on the podcast. So Nikki, you get bonus points for being a good friend. Everybody else,
thank you for being a friend. Bring it all back around to our pre-roll conversation,
right? So Nikki has this to say about how video games and movie fans can be alike. Video game and movie fans can be extremely loyal to their favorite things. I highly agree with that, which is sometimes really amazing and sweet. But on the other side, it can be really scary. Funnily enough, I love action games, but I'm meh about action movies.
That is different.
That is a little different, but I can agree with her there. And I like how she says it's on the other side. It's nice that people can be really into their fan bases, but it can be really scary in the terms of entering into that fan base. And both sides, I think that movie fans and gamers alike are kind of similar in that way, where they can be loyal to a degree of fault at the same time.
First thing that came to my mind when she mentioned that, Star Wars.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, trying to enter any kind of like Star Wars. Trying to enter.
You got to know your stuff if you're gonna even talk to anyone about Star Wars.
Yeah, you get your gatekeepers. Yeah.
I dare anybody to enter any kind of. I was going to say convention, but not in this time of year. But any kind of
now, maybe later.
Any kind of Star Wars forum, let's say online forum. When you've only seen, I dare you, when you've only seen Solo, a Star Wars movie.
Oh, why would you even do that?
I dare you.
Now here's the thing, and what's funny is I do feel that though. Like when somebody comes in and they've only seen Solo, and I feel that that death in me where it's like, that's all you, that's all you've seen. Why? No, I'm not going to kill them for it, obviously. It's just like, okay, you've seen what you see, but there are some who will.
Yeah.
And particularly you mentioned the right thing, forums.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've gone to YouTube and I've scrolled through comments of different reactions that I'm watching. It gets on like a thread of like 20 or so replies, and I get to like 5, and I'm like, all right, I'm done, because it's just a back and forth that goes nowhere.
Yeah.
Now I think what it is it's just a matter of balance, because no pun intended. Speaking of Star Wars, it's just a matter of balance where let's take The Last Jedi, and we talked about that in our last podcast that we were doing, where I'm like, I get where people are coming from with the criticism of the Last Jedi, because they're right.
Yeah.
Particularly when it comes to the character of Luke Skywalker, the bastardization of the character of Luke Skywalker, so such and such and so forth. But then that's usually taken to the extreme of nothing is good about that. And I'm like, no, not necessarily the case. The visuals of Last Jedi are fantastic and are very well done. And maybe except maybe barring Empire, probably the best looking Star Wars film that we've had to date.
I'll agree.
So so you have that there. It's like, it's just a matter of balance, but you get both sides of that.
Yeah.
You get the very vitriolic fandom that, oh my gosh, I hate this, blah, 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 blah. But then you also get the very, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say this word.
Go for it.
You also get the sycophantic side. Yeah. Where nothing is wrong. Everything is sunshine, rainbows, and happy, and oh my gosh, just enjoy it. Yeah. And it's like, no, there's room for criticism. Yeah. And so it's just balance.
And to go on that point, I think even just gamers alike, just to be called gamer, just to people to enjoy. I mean, Marcus, when I asked you to come on the show, I could sense there was like some kind of like a little bit of nerves. I'm like, man, I'm going on a gaming podcast. I don't really game because like
you're right.
Because you know that there's like this circle, right? I just got a comment on our last podcast saying that like, oh man, I'm not gonna say his name because I was like, are you dead serious about this? But he just said that, oh, look at all these social media links and not a single one is your Xbox gamer tag. Call yourself a gaming podcast. I was like, why?
Like, excuse me, sir. I don't talk to strangers.
That's the thing. I don't really play online games with strangers. But anyways, but even just to be called that gamer, you know, have you played X amount of games?
Like, I still struggle saying I'm a female gamer.
Yeah.
Because even though, yes, I am female and I play video games and I'm into video games, I feel like that's such like a very serious thing to call yourself. Because like it requires a certain level of responsibility, and I'm just like, I'm not ready for that.
No, you're right. It's like taking upon yourself a status that to others inherently means knowledge.
Yeah,
and as you said, and I think we went through the same discourse when you asked me a few months ago about Star Wars, and I didn't know it was about Star Wars at the time. He's like, "You want to come on the podcast?" I'm like, I don't know what I can contribute.
Yeah.
You didn't tell them what we were talking about?
No, I did. I'm just like, hey, man, like, do you just want to come on the show? And that's the thing. I like to get different perspectives. And I know this is a gaming podcast, but also it's our gaming podcast. And
we're nerds and we want to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, but no, like it's
true statement.
And I think where people kind of take the name of gamer, right? They take it too far. There is definitely a difference between a movie fan and a cinephile, right? But in the gaming culture, they think of it as one and the same.
We don't have another word.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, where you say I'm a gamer, and you're really meaning I'm a video game fan.
I enjoy video games.
But then you say gamer, and you're thinking I'm a gamer version of a cinephile.
Yeah,
and it's just like there needs to be that middle ground where I enjoy video games, and they completely cut you off because you're either a gaming, I don't know how you call it, a cinephile, a gameophile, I don't know, but I feel like that can be taken out.
You just coined a new word if it's not been said before. Gameophile.
Yeah, a gameophile, right? Like if you're not like an expert on all history of games, and you cannot call yourself a gamer.
Yeah,
and I think that's where there's this similarity because in terms of movie fans, I enjoy movies. Marcus, you're kind of in that world. You are in that world, but not only that, but you make films as well. And there's that group where it's just saying, "Oh, did you see this movie? Did you see that movie?" No, well, you can't call yourself a movie fan.
Yeah,
and it's just
it's very. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying there's that gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's something where, for instance, going along those lines, where if I'm watching a movie with my mother or my grandmother. They are not watching a movie the same way that I am.
Yeah.
Me as a director and a writer, I am looking at it a certain way.
Yeah.
Because I am one that is about the art form itself. So how I feel about it, do I like it? Do I dislike it? How does it make me feel? All this other stuff, that's beside the point. What is the story that is being conveyed?
Yeah.
However, most people are simply going, even if they do consider themselves cinephiles, are going because it hits them. It tickles their fancy. It's what they like or don't like or whatever the case may be. which is how you get some cinephiles that become very snobbish.
Yes.
Because now it's about taste and all this other stuff. And it's like, yeah, but taste is subjective. There is an objective art form to it if you get your own self out of the way.
Yeah.
And that takes time, that takes skill, that takes discipline. And it's something I have to go through every day. I can't tell you how many times I'll be observing a movie and there's a conclusion that comes where I'm like, is that limited or that weak? Is that a weak story point or is that a strong story point? And I'm like, why is it strong? Is it strong because I like it? Or is it weak because I dislike it? Then that means nothing because that's me. What is the story? Things of that nature. So it's just, yes, I'm coming at it at a different angle to not have myself in the way, to just see the objective art form. But if I'm talking with my mom and my grandmother, and they're like, "Oh, I liked it. I did this, that, and the other," and they'll ask, "Well, what did you? What was this movie about with you?" And I'm like, "Okay," and I'll just list not my likes and my dislikes. I'm listing the as objective as possible. And even still, sometimes that needs work because I'll have to go over my own. It's really a lot of self-examining when you do that too. And I'll list it off, and they'll say, "Yeah, I did not. I didn't see any of that," because it's just two different ways of looking at it.
It's the same way me and Liz look at movies, because if you ever watch the movie minutes segment of our podcast, she watches movies a different way, I watch it a different way, but in the end I may give it so a little spoiler alert for you here because you weren't here for it. We just watched Uncut Gems. And
okay, I wanted to see that too. Yeah.
Okay, so unpopular opinion, we both gave it a 5.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like a 9, but we have our reasons, right? But that's the thing. I always end our movie minutes and say, "Listen, this is how I rate it. You get to know me as how I see movies.
Yeah.
If you don't agree with mine, you'll see it a different way. So just take it's almost just like, here's what you should expect from the movie before you enter in. And then make your own expectations. Don't make it too high. Don't make it too low. It's just what I think.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Right.
But a lot of people have been giving it like 8s, 9s. And I'm not going to get into that because we just talked about it on the podcast. But yeah, no.
But you see, I was just going to say, going into that, it's like that's where you have people that, once again, because they are looking at it with the thing of, oh, well, what do I think? Do I like this? Do I not like it? Does it compel me? Whatever the case may be. And it's like, of course, they're going to follow with people who are also doing that. That falls in line with their likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
And it's just different. As I said, it's like I always equate it to a mountain. You can go to a mountain range,
right?
The Grand Canyon, and you'll say, tell me about this range. Tell me about the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And somebody will say, "Oh man, it's just so vast and it makes me feel so awestruck and this, that, and the other." Whereas you have another person that's saying, "Well, you see the minerals here, this, that, and the other," and they're looking at it more not in the sense of like, how does it make me feel? But they're just looking at what is the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And that's how I usually try to describe observing a movie and enjoying the movie. And not everybody's going to observe. I observe because I'm a writer and director.
Yeah.
But most people are just moviegoers.
Yeah.
But even in that, you have, like, as you said, you had movie fans and then you have cinephiles.
Right.
And cinephiles will usually go for things like Parasite.
Yeah.
Or the South Korea, other South Korean films, or J-horror, or whatever the case would be. They're looking for they're looking to just consume film, period.
And I think that goes in the lines of also, people who are gamers. There's gaming fans who go for the, the Call of Duties, right? And it kind of
raising my hand to that one.
Yeah, Call of Duties, like any kind of like a new Pokemon game, your basics, whatever. But the most popular games, and they go to that, and that's what they enjoy. I know a lot of people who just play NBA. That's their game of the year, and that's it.
Love that as well, for myself.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's just, I buy it every year. I say I'm not going to buy NBA,
and you buy it,
and I buy it. Like, it's just in my cart, and I'm just like, what happened? But then there's also, the gamophiles, right? That go into it, and they want a more deep structured indie title that nobody's ever heard of, right? And if you are not into those indie titles, if you're not into the really good stories, or even just God of War, right?
Yeah,
it's a mainstream game, but most casual players, right, aren't going to go to God of War. It's only for the real gamers, right? And it's this imbalance of just saying it's this gatekeeping, right? Some people will just do Call of Duty, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Like Marcus, you were saying that your terms of gaming is through emulation, and you're playing the old Pokemon games, and guess what? Who's a gamer? All three of us right here.
There you go.
And
Right, yeah.
and that's the thing. As long as you're playing video games, you can call yourself a gamer. And I think that's where the line goes, and it's kind of like with movies, right?
Yeah.
Do you enjoy movies? By the way, who doesn't like movies? Like
people who don't own a television.
Right. I mean, there's a YouTube channel that I'm watching right now where his friend hasn't seen the X-Men series. He hasn't seen any of the MCU. He never saw the Dark Knight trilogy.
No.
He never saw Lord of the Rings. He never saw Star Wars. Like, so there are people out there. Yeah, there are people out there that's the thing. I can understand Lord of the Rings. I can understand Star Wars. If you haven't seen a single MCU, you are taking active steps.
Yeah, you
to not see
on
it.
purpose.
Like, how do you go about life?
He was kind of on the same track as I think my mom until he said Lord of the Rings. My mom has seen Lord of the Rings. I don't think my mom has actively sat down and watched any MCU, Batman,
I don't
Star
understand.
Wars. She saw the 70s Star Wars because that's her Star Wars. This new one, that's not Star Wars.
not my Star Wars.
Pretty much.
To be fair, she's not totally wrong, but
I was gonna say.
But yeah, so I was funny. I just thought that was funny.
I mean, because so it's a thing where sometimes people not even actively trying to stay away.
Yeah.
They just
not
don't
attracted to it.
Yeah,
they just don't catch it. And you're right. It is crazy to me because I'm just like, once again, writer and director. Of course, it's crazy to me. Where I'm like, you gotta see the film. You gotta see this. But I mean, let's take this.
Yeah.
Let's take this. The Oscars.
Yeah.
If you go to a gaming awards ceremony, which I know the
video game awards, yeah.
Yeah, the gaming award. It's like if you go to that ceremony now, of course they will have the popular games, and I think maybe that's where some of the difference is, the accolades.
Yes.
Because very few popular films get into the categories for the Academy.
Yeah.
And if they do, it's usually very locked off. It's makeup, design, special effects, whatever the case may be. It's usually very locked off.
Right.
But with games, usually it is more of the popular games than the indie titles, or at least as far as I've seen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's definitely where the difference lies, is like sometimes popularity of games, unless you have a gamophile, popularity of games gets more recognition than popular movies do for the accolades.
I can agree with that. Yeah. Well, we're running low on time, and as camera one is, I was about to say, camera one is running out of battery, but that's fine. But yeah, no, I think we had a really good conversation here, and let's go into some closing thoughts here, right?
Sure.
Because, man, I don't know where this conversation went, but I know I enjoyed it, man.
Idea.
I enjoyed the ride.
Indeed.
But yeah, talking about this Venn diagram of gamers, movie fans, right? How we all are similar, and how we can all just understand each other, right? But closing thoughts on the whole visualization of a Venn diagram of gamers and movie files. Wow, good job, Adam. Cinephiles. How can we all connect, and how can we all understand each other, and how is all these mediums one and the same almost? Marcus, would you like to say your closing thoughts?
Sure. Before we get into the similarities, I do want to say one thing about the one big difference between gamers and movie fans. And you asked this question in the notes that you sent me, where it's like, are all?
Oh, yes.
I think you said that most people can consider themselves movie fans, but not all movie fans are gamers.
Yeah, I worded it. Would we say that most gamers are movie fans, but not all movie fans are gamers?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason for that is the biggest difference. And that's why I was thinking like that the similarities between games and movies, the similarities will highlight the differences.
Yeah.
And I think the difference is interactivity.
Mm-hmm.
With a movie, you go and it is being presented to you.
Yes.
But if there's not a story for a game, the game doesn't cease to be a game.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But a film ceases to be what it is if you don't have a story.
Yeah.
Because let's take Mario.
Yeah.
Very, very simple, uninvolved story. Plumber saves princess from evil turtle.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
that is a story. But here's the thing: there is no characterization of Mario. Who is Mario?
Right.
Who is Bowser? You know, why does Bowser like doing what he's doing? I have in my notes here is Bowser trying to take over the kingdom, which Peach's capture would convey.
You're talking
some
the very
aspects
first Mario game, right? Very
What's
first.
that?
You're talking about
the very first.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like some aspects of manipulative traits of his own, or to strong arm the kingdom into subservience, maybe ambitiousness, desiring a kingship. Does he have a trait making himself unassured and he wants to validate himself? You don't get into that for the game because it's just like, he's evil.
Yeah.
Get the princess.
Right.
So if you take the story out, you still have interactivity, you still have the gameplay.
Yeah.
But if you take the story out of a film, you really have nothing.
That's true.
So I think that's the biggest. So I think that's the biggest thing, and why certain movie lovers don't go for the games, because it's like it's a different type of thing. You have to involve yourself a whole heck of a lot more, and I think that's changing a bit as time goes on. You guys mentioned earlier how games are becoming more storytelling driven.
Yes.
But when you think about it, it doesn't need to be. You want to see the story for Jedi Fallen Order, yes. But then if you take a game like Galaga has no story. The Legend of Zelda games in the beginning didn't really have a story. It had a very simple trajectory, but the meat and potatoes was
the gameplay. Game. Right.
Yeah. So I think if anything, that's the biggest difference between the two sides. But the similarities, other than the interactivity, completely outweigh any of the difference. It's just
especially nowadays.
It's just how you it's just how you engage in it now.
Yeah.
But all of them are like, they're almost so melded together. It's almost hard to define them and why they could be different.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, Liz, what are you thinking?
Well, I've learned in this that I sit on the casual side of both.
Yeah, and that's okay.
But I don't want to like repeat what we said, but it's pretty much the similarities to me. It's that it's just that person's way of consuming a story or an art, and they both can be stories. And
right.
Yeah.
The way the communities are built are pretty much the same. But the difference
Indeed.
is, the biggest difference in my opinion is that one is interactive and one you're watching it.
Right.
You know, and I think Marcus is right, is that the reason that you don't see moviegoers going into games because it's more active. Some of them require skill to get the story, so it's a lot harder to get into if you're like me and not good at living in video games.
Yeah. And Marcus, when you were saying that about the presentation, immediately I thought about food because I'm a fat piece of crap.
Oh my goodness.
Please.
Well, when we were roommates, it was much worse. But
even then.
Yeah, it's like, but that's the thing. I immediately thought of food because working in the restaurant business, right? When you said presentation, you know, what's presented to you.
Yeah.
In movies, right, where it's presented to you, right, it's almost like going to a restaurant and they serve you, right? Now, let's say, you know, sponsored by HelloFresh. It's not sponsored by HelloFresh. We're not that good yet. But now, like, let's say the same meal is being served to you, same exact meal.
Yeah.
Except you get the recipe card, right? You have instructions of how to make it, but you get all the ingredients you have to make.
Yeah.
The same meal, but what's
the same.
It hopefully will taste the same.
Hopefully.
But that's the other thing. If you make it yourself, maybe it won't taste the same, right? Maybe you make your own story. right?
Yeah.
Especially like Zelda games, especially Breath of the Wild, you get to make your own story, or RPG games like Skyrim or Oblivion, right? You get to make your own story, right? And it's the way it's presented to you. Whereas this is a fine, delicious meal that was purposefully made, right? But let's say video games, right? Same meal, same ingredients, but you can make it your own way. Add some chili powder in it. I don't know.
Or not.
Or like, add some hot sauce. But I think it's kind of in that sort of difference where it can be the same kind of story, but it's a different way it's presented to you. Yeah. Right?
It's a very good analogy.
Yeah.
Very, very much so.
Oh, thank you. I'm very profound. But
That's so humble.
so humble.
I'm the most humble person in the world. What are you talking about?
Right? It's like Moses in Exodus, like written down in Exodus, like, and Moses was the most humble man ever.
Right?
And he's just reading it. It's like, wait, weren't you writing this? But it's like,
really, Lord? You want me to put this down?
You want me to put this down? Okay. It's God ordained. But I need to next church interview I go to. It's like, listen, it's God ordained. I am the most humble person there ever was. But yeah, so I think this was a really excellent conversation. As
that camera's still holding on.
It's still going on. Go for it, camera one. Yeah, you get it, girl.
I was waiting for it to die, like as you're saying that.
But Marcus, thanks again for coming on the show.
We're gonna
roll out the red carpet for you. This camera, this camera, this camera.
Okay, no. Yeah. we have a whole 2 cameras.
Yeah, this camera. That's
and
it.
he can't see either of them.
Yeah.
No, but I will profile for him.
Oh yeah.
How you doing? Yeah.
But where can we find you? How can we find you on YouTube? Any kind of social medias? Any kind of new projects that we want to get aware of? What can we end on?
No new. I mean, other than the reactions and everything that comes out normally, no new projects. You can find me at on Instagram. I have a Twitter as well. I'm more active on Instagram though. On Instagram, I am the Markus Graves, and for Twitter, oh man, I always have to figure out what am I. Oh yeah, at I am Markus Graves. YouTube is where you'll see me the most, and that is just my name. I think it's youtube.com/user/Markus Graves. Just type in MARKUS GRA, V as in Victor, E as in Sam.
And I'll have it in the description
hopefully
down
I'll
below.
be there.
Yeah, true.
What's up?
And I'll have it in the description down below. I'll link all of his socials, YouTube channel if you want to find out where because you do a lot of anime reactions, but you also have the nice video essays, and hopefully soon you have like the nice little Let's Plays. But
hopefully,
yeah, man. And you upload like twice a day, is that right?
No, I wish.
Yeah, I remember there was one day where you were like 2 uploads a day.
Oh yeah, I was definitely putting some out there before. I've kind of slowed down a bit then, but I think now I'm at 2 a week right now. Naruto reactions and Death Note reactions. Yes. Soon I'll have, especially once I get my setups and everything up and running again, because right now I can't edit. But once I get all that up and running again, it will be those 2 and Black Mirror. So I'll at least have 3 videos a week.
Nice.
So
good stuff. But yeah, definitely go to his channel. Definitely hit that subscribe button and notification bell so that you are aware of all of the reactions. You need to know about those. And
much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. And again, thanks for coming on the show. Like we really like this conversation. It was really good.
Oh yeah. Definitely was very. Oh my gosh, I enjoy talking with you guys and just really chopping it up and getting really good in-depth conversation. What the thing was like, I'm always whether it be Star Wars or gaming and the Venn diagram between that and movies. I'm having a blast, man. So thank you for having me on, guys. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you, man. All right, we'll end it here with just remember to follow us on the social medias. We're on Twitter at Gaming Groceries. We're on Instagram, Games Groceries, all one word. We're on Facebook, that toxic wasteland of Facebook, where your uncle resides and he says his certain opinions about the pandemic. But, we'll leave it as your uncle's little post there. But it is what it is. But definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you know when all these podcasts come out, as well as our new videos coming out. So with all that said and done, we'll see you in the next one, and have a good week.
Bye.